We see great athletes all the time, right? But how many of them can honestly say they changed the world with their sport? Well, this is the story of Billie Jean King and how a simple tennis racket in her hands became a tool for a revolution.
So to really get her impact, you first have to understand just how dominant she was. Let's start with a number, 39. That's the number of Grand Slam titles she won. In the world of tennis, that doesn't just make you a champion. It basically makes you royalty. This level of greatness, that's the foundation of her power. Okay, now for a second number, 90 million. That's how many people tuned in to watch a single tennis match of hers back in 1973. 90 million. How on earth does one game capture the entire world's attention like that? Well, that's where the real story begins. But see, before she could change the world, she first had to conquer her own. And for Billie Jean King, that meant starting with sheer, undeniable, absolute dominance on the tennis court. And what a force she was. I mean, it wasn't just that she won, it was the scale of her dominance. We're talking world number one in both singles and doubles, 129 career singles titles. And she played with this famously aggressive serve and volley style that really redefined the women's game. She wasn't just a top player, she was one of the greatest, period. So this brings up a huge question. Imagine you're at the absolute peak of your profession. You're a celebrated champion, the best there is, but you're still not treated as an equal. So what do? Do you just accept it, or do you fight back? For Billie Jean King, that answer was pretty clear. And that fight, it led her straight to maybe the most iconic moment of her entire career. A single tennis match that became this massive cultural event. A spectacle that was about so much more than just hitting a ball over a net. It was the battle of the sexes. To really feel the pressure she was under, you have to look at the year 1973. It was an absolute whirlwind. In June, she does something huge. She founds the Women's Tennis Association, giving female players one unified voice. And then, just 3 months later, she walks onto that court for the match that would define everything. She won in straight sets. With that massive global audience of 90 million people watching her every move, she beat the former men's champion Bobby Riggs, who'd been telling anyone who would listen that the women's game was inferior and he could beat any female player. Her win wasn't just a victory, it was a statement that echoed all around the world. This quote, wow, it just shows you the incredible weight that was on her shoulders. This was never just about prize money or bragging rights. In her mind, the entire future of women's sports and the self-worth of millions of women rested on this one match. The pressure is just unimaginable. But winning that one match, as huge as it was, that wasn't the end game, not even close. It was the spark. The real heavy lifting work was in building a whole new system from the ground up, creating the actual institutions that would guarantee a more equal future. Creating the WTA was a total masterstroke. Before that, female players were all on their own. They had no collective power. By founding this organization, King basically gave them a seat at the bargaining table. It was a union, it was a tour, it was a statement of legitimacy, all rolled into one. And she didn't stop there. She also co-founded World Team Tennis. And you really can't overstate how radical this was for the time. A pro sports league where men and women weren't just playing in the same event, but on the same team, as total equals. It was a vision of what sports could and should be. Her fight also had a very real, tangible target: money. She championed the cause for equal pay over and over. And you know what? She got it done. She was the one who pushed and pushed until the US Open became the very first Grand Slam to offer equal prize money for its male and female champions. A literal dollar-for-dollar win for equality. So what does this all add up to? The wins, the activism, the organizations. It all comes together to create this legacy that completely reshaped not just tennis, but the entire cultural landscape. Yeah, because this was never really just about tennis. Her fame and her fight, they lit a fire. They brought a level of media attention and, frankly, respect to women's sports that just wasn't there before. The female athletes in so many other sports today are standing on the foundation she helped pour. Decades later, her impact was recognized at the highest possible level. In 2009, she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and that wasn't an award for being a great tennis player. It was an award for being a great American who pushed the country to live up to its own ideals. And honestly, there is no better symbol of her legacy than this. The very place where the US Open is held, the tournament she forced to finally deal with equality, now has her name on it. It's a permanent reminder that the fight for a better world can be fought anywhere, even on a tennis court.
Which brings us to a final thought. An athlete's greatness on the court, that's temporary. Their career ends. But an impact like this, that's forever. And it kind of makes you wonder, when you look at sports and culture today, who's carrying that torch now? Who is the next Billie Jean King?